Welcome to the Mama Needs a Moment podcast with your hosts, Chrissy and Cindy, co-founders of HER Health Collective, and moms who understand the chaos of juggling it all. But here's the thing, your well-being matters. That's why we're on a mission to change the way moms take care of themselves. This season, every episode features a roundtable conversation, bringing together trusted experts from different backgrounds to talk about the topics that matter most to moms, creating space for more collaborative, whole person care. These episodes are short, meaningful, and easy to fit into real life. You'll hear from our HER expert providers sharing expert insight and real-life tips you can use right away. Learn more about them in our free provider directory linked in the show notes. So take a deep breath, grab your coffee, and let's make these moments count. Welcome to Mama Needs a Moment, and a warm welcome to our HER expert providers who are joining us for a discussion on supporting siblings and balancing needs in multi-child families. We are focusing on the very delicate balancing act of raising multiple children while trying to meet each child's emotional, developmental, and behavioral needs. And this is something that comes up a lot. Before we begin, each expert will briefly introduce themselves and share their area of focus. Our podcast episodes are also available in video format on our YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Carrie Ann Dittner, and I am a clinical and developmental psychologist. I am also the owner and founder of Peak City Psychology in Apex. And most importantly, I am the mom of three boys, so I've had my fair share of sibling issues over the years.
Hi, my name is Elise Davis. I am a licensed counselor and the owner of Present Practice Counseling. I have advanced training in dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, which really focuses on getting real tools into people for their real life problems. That helps us regulate our emotions and be able to have healthy relationships. I have one daughter and she is a handful, so looking forward to talking about this more.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Winslow. I am a pediatric occupational therapist by trade and the owner of Emerge Pediatric Therapy and the Therapeutic Edge Collective. I have specialized training in sensory processing, executive function, emotional regulation, and really have spent a lot of my time recently really working with whole family systems on addressing each other's regulation needs and how we play off of that. So I'm excited about the conversation today. I have three daughters. And so, yes, also deal with sibling conflicts and looking forward to diving in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gigi Miller. I am a productivity coach, and my focus of my business, The Organized Life, is working with women and helping them with executive function support and also later diagnosed in life with ADHD.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quinandria Lee. I am a licensed clinical mental health therapist and a former school counselor, always worked in middle school. I am also the owner and CEO of Curated Space Counseling and Consulting. So I work with a diverse population. So I work with teenagers and then through adults. I do not have any children, but my extensive background with working with students and just my background in therapy also lends my expertise in this conversation. So I'm excited to be here.
So many adult sibling relationships that I'm aware of are really fractured. And I think that impacts what's happening in the home, impacts the children, obviously, as children, but also as adults. But I also want to acknowledge that it's impacting parents. If we talk to moms every single day in our community who are really struggling with the sibling dynamic in the home. One of the biggest struggles we hear that parents share is this fear of being unfair, that they're constantly doing mental math. Have I given them equal time, energy, attention, patience? And realizing that it never quite adds up. When one child needs more support, more regulation, more accommodations, it can stir up guilt, resentment, confusion for parents and siblings alike. I would love to dive into a conversation around how we can help parents release that guilt when one child needs more. It's something we hear about a lot from our parents. So how can parents release that guilt and just acknowledge that this is a part of having multiple children?
I think the first thing, and we've talked a lot about parenting from a certain framework, and I think guilt shows up when we equate fairness and sameness. Okay. Parenting is not a math equation, it's not robotic. It's responsive. And so there is no way that we can get this equal time, equal rules, equal consequences. So starting from the framework of understanding what fairness actually means, it's not the same. It is not equal. I like to coach parents and say that basically fairness comes from, are we giving each unique child what they need to thrive? Okay. Because I want them all to thrive, right? Like that is our family value. And how do I do that? And that might mean different rules or different consequences or different times or different things like that, because we have to respond to those. So I think helping parents at the end of the day not look at it in these like checks and balances kind of situations, but did I show up for them in the way that they needed me to show up for them today? And if I didn't, there's always the opportunity, because I definitely know I didn't show up equally all the same for my three boys. No way did I do that, right? Made so many mistakes along the way. But I cannot emphasize, and I think so many of us have in this conversation already, the importance of validation and repair. It goes such a long way in relationships in general, but particularly with our children and particularly in the sibling relationship. But to say to them, you know what, I struggled today. I struggled. I didn't get that right. I didn't do it the way that I wanted to do it. I'd like us to figure out a way to do this differently tomorrow. How can we reconnect? But definitely it starts from that framework that it's not about sameness. We have to redefine what fair means. And I think about it as am I showing up for them so that they're thriving?
A couple little tidbits that I wanted to pass on to parents too is one, there is a really cute children's book called Philomena's New Glasses. I cannot remember the author of the book, but it's this adorable book with like these cute little like gerbils, I think. And Philomena needs the glasses, but not all of the sisters need glasses. They all need different things. And so it's a cute, easy way to really be able to explain like, oh, all the little hamsters or gerbils might want glasses because Philomena has them, but actually this one likes a purse and this one likes a dress. And so for younger kids, it's a really good way to start introducing that idea from a way that like everyone needs different things. And I also wanted to say, I think so often we have to respond to kind of the biggest, loudest thing that's happening. And so our attention gets drawn to that. And so whether that's a behavior or extra supports that are needed. So when we have opportunities, when we're regulated ourselves to be able to really think through this, is to think about what are the strengths that everyone brings to the table as well, and find ways to honor those and to really support those in the household too. So, if there's a kid who really, loves structure, maybe they're the one that is, helping to do like the living room reset at night. And so we're giving them kind of jobs and things to do and point out things that everyone's doing really well. So we kind of have this other side to I need to focus all of my attention on this kid because of X, Y, or Z. How can we also make sure that we're showing the other kids that we see them, we see what they're doing, we see their strengths, we appreciate those, and we can really honor those in the household to really kind of lift everyone up as well.
I want to share something that might be a little controversial, but this idea of like releasing guilt as opposed to releasing guilt, let's approach it, right? Like what emotion is actually here? And when I sit with my guilt, let me check the facts on that. Guilt shows up when we are not operating according to our values. And so let's check the facts. Am I actually doing something that is against my values? And as Carrie talked about the opportunity to be able to like repair, if like my guilt actually does fit the facts, then that motivates me to do something about it. That's great. I need that emotion. Emotions are helpful, right? And so if I feel resentment or guilt or whatever, let's look at it. What information is it trying to tell me? If it fits the fact, then I can act on it. I can repair. If it doesn't, then I lean into the radical acceptance of like, look, the math doesn't math. There's only 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 15 kids and one of me, right? Like, it is what it is. And how do I radically accept? Yeah, Gigi's talking about like normalizing guilt and emotions, like holding space for that. And by doing that, we are also modeling to the kiddos that we can experience a range of emotions. We don't have to be afraid of them. They give us information, right? And it also gives us an opportunity to learn. And even for the kids to be able to learn. If I do say, well, you know, Mama Carrie, I have, and you just happen to be in the middle of my screen, Mama Carrie, I feel like you're giving Gigi more attention than me and I don't like it, then she can teach me how to problem solve with Gigi and to work through that. And that's an opportunity for us to grow as siblings and acknowledge our differences. So controversial natures as opposed to like getting rid of the emotion. I shouldn't feel guilt. I should be completely proud of myself all the time as a parent. Like, it's not real life. Like, we're going to have the feelings. Let's sit with it. Let's address it. See if it makes sense. See what it's teaching us and communicating to us, and also give our kids the same opportunity.
This episode is brought to you by HER Circle, the ultimate community for moms looking for real connections, meaningful experiences, and expert support.
From Mom's Night Out and family adventures to book club, volunteer opportunities, and expert workshops, HER Circle is where moms come together to learn, laugh, and lift each other up.
Spots are limited, so join the waitlist at herhealthcollective.com/membership.
I'd like to circle back about something that Brittany said about addressing, I think you had phrased it as addressing the loudest problem in the room at that moment. So my question to you all is sensory differences. My kids have different sensory. One is a sensory seeker, one is a sensory avoider. And that has caused a lot of fairness disputes as well as fighting, which we will get into in a future episode. But I'd like to talk about the sensory piece that tends to cause a lot of loudness in the room in arguments. So, Brittany, would you mind talking a little about that?
Sure. Yeah, this is definitely my wheelhouse. I really do think it goes best when we have everyone in the family talking about their sensory needs. And so whatever way we need to identify that, but being able to know, like, same scenario in my house. I have one kid that's really sensory sensitive. I have a couple kids that are more sensory seeking. And so we do often have conflicting needs that arise, even between the parents too. If I'm feeling overstimulated in the evening, do not turn on the big overhead lights, do not play the loud music, right? I'm going to show up differently when those things are kind of coming at me and I'm feeling more sensitive to them. So if we start to talk about it and honor it as individuals in the family and talk about kind of what makes everyone feel their best selves, and if we can kind of get everyone in that place where everyone feels their best self, how can we come up with some family agreements to be able to try to like get in the middle somewhere? It's not going to happen 100% of the time, but if we know bright lights at night and loud music is going to be dysregulating for some of our family members in the evening, maybe we have a family agreement that we're using the lamps and we're using a different type of music in the evening. I mean, there's so many examples of different kind of competing things that kids need. So, hey, I see that your body really needs to like jump and crash, and I want your body to get what it needs. I wonder where we can do this, or you can get what your body needs and everyone feels safe. So, and like find ways to honor what people need in the spaces if we can to be able to do that. But it all comes down to acknowledgement, understanding each other and what we need, and not forgetting about the parents. Because if the parents are also dysregulated and not talking about what they need, then the kids don't really see that modeling happening. So we have to find ways to ground ourselves through those sensory needs too, because we're all sensory beings, and you don't have to have a sensory processing disorder diagnosis to have difficulty with different types of sensations. So talking about it as a whole family, understanding what we need, honoring what we need, providing spaces for people to get what they need, and feeling safe to be able to say, I need this, or this is too much.
This is such a great opportunity also to teach kids about empathy. And I mean, if they're taught that at a young age, imagine what adults they could be. But so many clients come to me and their spouse does not have empathy for them or what they're going through because they don't really understand it and they're not educated. So I just wanted to add on, empathy is a big piece of it.
What I hear you all talking about is, again, this both and, right? Like, there's these competing needs, and how do we find a middle path? And that might not actually be in the middle. I'm curious about what you all's thoughts are about how do you tolerate the transition and the kind of brainstorming and trying different things until you find that agreement that works? Because I'm going to want a solution right now. And so what do I do while I'm trying to figure that out? I would love to hear y'all's thoughts about that.
One thing that I talk about from the start with families is that it is an experiment, and it's figuring out what works best for us and trying things and seeing how it works. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, we need to change it. And also acknowledging over the lifespan, as kids age and we hit hormones or we have other stressors, our needs are going to also change in those times. So it is something that unfortunately is not like we figured this out and we're set for life. One way that I do like to talk about it with families too is kind of using a battery analogy. Are you feeling like your battery is full, kind of partially depleted, or all the way depleted, right? So we can kind of use that as a model too, to say, hey, my battery is feeling really low. What are some things I can do to bring my battery level back up? And again, experimenting, playing with those things to figure out what's going to work, and having a little bit of grace through that process.
Yeah, I definitely want to add two things to that. One is that whenever we practice these regulation strategies, one of the things I always tell parents and kids in my practice is that, okay, don't tell me you did it once and it didn't work. Okay. So because all the time they're coming back, they're like, oh, Dr. Carey, we tried this, or, Brittany suggested this and it didn't work. You definitely need to practice, right? This is definitely needs to become part of your routine to really understand, does this work for my body, right? Is this an effective coping strategy? Is this an effective relief? We need more than one time. So sometimes families need to be like, okay, let's try this out for a week or so and see where this gets us. Similar to what you were saying, Brittany, about the battery, I often use a body budget, what deposits have been made throughout the day and what withdrawals, have been made as well. And let's estimate sort of what fills our bucket and what empties our bucket.
Thank you so much for that discussion on fairness. It was full of a lot of golden nuggets that the community will definitely love to listen to. And it's a great segue into my next question for all of you regarding sibling conflict and sibling fighting. Be sure to come back for our next episode, where you can get more information from our HER Plus expert providers in this current roundtable discussion on supporting siblings and balancing needs in multi-child families.
That's a wrap. You carved out a few moments just for yourself, and that's a big deal.
We understand that time is limited, but we've got your back, which is why we keep these episodes short, sweet, and packed with goodness.
Don't miss a thing. Hit the follow button so you're always the first to know when a new episode drops. If you had as much fun as we did, let us know by leaving a review.
And remember to let other moms know that we're here doing motherhood alongside you, grateful to share a few moments taking care of you.